Dan, I mean, by that point of the season, you think that he's doing everything that they've expected him to do?
Oh, yeah.
Are they in a really good spot? You expect them to be contenders?
I fully expect J.J. McCarthy to have the Vikings very similar situation-wise to what they were as a team last year, and honestly playing very similar to what Sam Darnold did production-wise. The way he plays the position, how he is so kind of foundationally built on one hitch, ball goes here, two hitch, ball goes there, three hitch, ball goes to the check down. The play action comfort that he has. We know Kevin O'Connor, their play caller's sensational. Their offensive line will be top 5 in the NFL. The receivers are top 2, top 3 in the NFL. So I think this is the place where, you know, the quarterback has the chance to almost make the people quickly forget about how good Sam Darnold was for them last year. I fully expected them to be very much so at the top of the NFC North.
How many times do we talk about it's not where you're picked, it's where you go?
Absolutely. Who you're with.
Who you're with.
Who you're with.
And exactly this is the case with J.J. McCarthy, where he went, all those pieces around him. Is there a place in the league right now that's any better at supporting quarterbacks than the Minnesota Vikings? I mean, again, Philadelphia, Minnesota, there are a bunch of teams in the conversation, but Minnesota is right there with Kevin O'Connell, Josh McCown, the rest of that group there. And because of that, you feel a lot better about a quarterback who still has not taken a regular season snap in the National Football League. J.J. McCarthy was a great prospect coming out, but we still haven't seen him at the NFL level. But the fact that he's in that system, surrounded by the people he is, makes you feel a lot more comfortable and confident that he's going to be the type of successful quarterback that we think he can be.
There's no better situation for a young quarterback right now than Minnesota, but am I allowed to be, not skeptical, but can we wait and see? He's still 22 years old. He never was that quarterback at Michigan where he's like, let me just show, I'm going to throw us to victory. That's
but
not
he
what
doesn't have to be in Minnesota either.
I get it, but Sam Darnold was that guy last year. In crunch time, in Seattle, he found a way to lead them. Against Chicago, goes 90 yards on the road in Soldier Field. I don't want to overlook what Sam Darnold did last year, and they actively decided we're not going to re-sign Sam Darnold, we're not going to franchise tag him, and we're also not going to go aggressively after Aaron Rodgers for a year as JJ is going to find his way. They did trade for Sam Howell, fine. But, like, J.J. McCarthy had a good preseason game, got injured. We haven't seen him since. I think that is a very tough spot, given the expectations for Minnesota this year.
It's interesting risk, right? You're bringing up a great point, but also it makes you think these are some of the best quarterback evaluators in the league, some of the best coaches offensively in the league. They must see something in J.J. McCarthy's.
Yeah. Listen, we know that the Vikings have tremendous confidence in J.J. McCarthy. And it seems to me that they also are going to accept that this is a rookie quarterback, essentially, and that no one is, at this point in the NFL world, should be caught off guard with what it means to be a rookie quarterback and the level of success and the level of consistency that you bring to that position as a rookie. And so I understand this idea, right? Because you kind of have two competing views, right? With, Dan Orlovsky saying, listen, look what Sam Darnold was able to do with this team. By week 17, J.J. McCarthy is going to be able to be doing a lot of the same stuff. Therefore, they're going to be winning a lot of games. And to me, Orlovsky is pretty much saying he's going to, he just said that JJ will have the Vikings where Sam had them last year, which was then competing for the #1 overall seed and a first-round bye, right? Literally just a game away from that. And that's, you can't get higher expectations than that. Realistic expectations. Just like, oh, they're going to win the Super Bowl. That's not real expectations. That's just made up media nonsense, right? But to say, I believe that they're going to be competing for the #1 seed, like, well, then, like, that is like true pressure and expectations. And, that's what, Peter's saying, that it's just one of those things where, it's, hey, don't just automatically assume that it's going to unfold like this, because don't downplay what Sam Darnold brought to the quarterback position. Like, yes, obviously this team was great, the coaching staff is great, but it doesn't mean that Sam Darnold was just nothing and that all his success was strictly only because of Minnesota. And I really think it's just somewhere in between. I think, of course, Sam Darnold benefited from the Minnesota Vikings, but the Minnesota Vikings also benefited from Sam Darnold. And Sam Darnold did step up in multiple times in multiple games to really rise to the occasion and get out there and come away with some big wins, which is why I said that let's just say this. Let's say that Sam Darnold, and this is not what I believe, but let's just say that Sam Darnold was like on a scale of 0 to 100, he was 90% of why the Vikings had the success that they had. That he was so much more of a reason why than people want to give him credit for. Let's just say that that's true. Again, not saying that is, but I'm just saying, like, let's just follow the logic with me. The idea that when you bring in J.J. McCarthy onto this team, that if he can't match that 90%, if he can only match the 50, 60, 70%, this team, okay, so maybe they're not a game away from being the number 1 seed, but at the same time, it doesn't mean then that they're a game away from being the last place team in the NFL or the last place team, in the conference or something. Like, I think that's where we keep getting these extreme competing takes, where it's really just like J.J. McCarthy is either just going to immediately have this team top seed in the NFL, or we haven't really seen them. I'm really skeptical of what the Vikings can do. I'm expecting them to just kind of go nowhere fast. And I'm probably expecting the Vikings, as long as J.J. McCarthy is not a complete disaster, which again, I don't think he will be, but you have to leave that room for that, for being the reality, because we haven't seen him play. I think I'm predicting the Vikings to look like a higher quality Denver Broncos with Bo Nix in year 1 with him. I'm looking at it to have that level of success, that level type of play, that level of, hey, you're looking great in one game, let's go. And you have another game where you're like, we need a little bit more out of you, and you come away with the loss. More so than the Jaden Daniels and the Commanders just lighting the league on fire. I just think you're still going to have legitimate, firm growing pains with J.J. McCarthy, but I think this roster is awesome. I believe in what they're building. I believe in the team. I believe in the coaching staff. I believe that they are going to have legitimate success, but I don't think it's just hard for me to imagine that this team will be able to just immediately pick up where they left off. I just think that's too much too quickly, quite frankly. I really, really do. And that's not to say that J.J. McCarthy is not good enough or that this team isn't good enough. It's just the way how the NFL has always worked, quite frankly. And, the Commanders were able to really be the Commanders and have that season with some things that needed to fall on their lap. Caleb Williams of the Chicago Bears had to become a dumpster fire and give up a Hail Mary. The Atlanta Falcons threw in their first year starters, second game just threw them at the end of the season to be like, hey, please go beat the Commanders now, rather than actually having an established Kirk Cousins level quarterback. They needed Jalen Hurts to go down. Jalen Hurts got injured within the first 5-10 minutes of in the game against them in their second game that they played, and it still came down to the very last second touchdown pass for win. I mean, just that's 3 losses that most likely would have happened right there. I mean, Kenny Pickett, their backup quarterback, was there, and they still almost had that win. Devontae Smith, wide receiver for the Eagles, dropped a pass that was wide open, hit him in the hands. It was just one of those you make that catch 99.999% of the time, and then you don't win that game. And all of those things went at play for ultimately Jaden Daniels and the Commanders to get to the NFC Championship game. All those things needed to happen. Going up against the Lions that were injured. And again, I'm not saying that even if the Lions were healthy, that the Commanders still don't win, but they just needed a lot of things. They needed the Giants to be garbage. They needed the Cowboys to be garbage. All of these things still needed to happen ultimately for the Commanders and Jaden Daniels to have their season. And a lot of those things really are difficult to predict. And that was the best rookie season we've ever seen, and the most successful that we've ever seen. And so, here we have the Vikings team, which should be, and I believe is, a better roster than what the Commanders had. So like that goes in your favor of saying, okay, well, maybe we don't need a collection of these, things to kind of fall in our favor, which is definitely a valid point. But then you have to, put into context of like, but this division should be a lot harder than the NFC East at the time, minus the obviously the Super Bowl winning Eagles, but you still have to deal with the Bears, which I will think will be a tough team. You do obviously have to deal with the Packers and the Lions, which have proven to be tough teams. So, that those are just some of the things that make it a little bit harder to have a team like the Vikings get the level of momentum that I feel as though that the Commanders were able to get last year with Jaden Daniels, or even the Vikings were able to get with an experienced veteran quarterback, Sam Darnold, last season as well. But I fear that right now we've reached the point with Vikings takes that it's like, unless you say that JJ McCarthy is going to lead this team to the promised land in year one as a starter, that you're just like doubting them or downplaying or, a hater or whatever it may be. And I just think that this team at the end of the day will probably be a pretty darn good team, going through its growing pains, going through some of his issues. I'm sure JJ McCarthy is going to have his moments when he's kind of a little bit frazzled, a little bit overwhelmed. The door will be a little bit more open for him to get exposed, pretty much exploited against the better defenses, the better defensive coordinators or defensive head coaches specifically, but not in a way where you're just like, oh man, the Vikings are just lost. What are they going to like? Right, like it's the way how I kind of look at it at a first year starter season is like, you either look like the Chicago Bears or you can look like the Washington Commanders with Jaden Daniels, and it's just like, especially since both those seasons just happened last year, I just feel as though it'll be somewhere in the middle. I don't think it's going to be anywhere near what happened with the Chicago Bears, because I trust what the Minnesota Vikings are doing and how they run their franchise. But like I just said, there's so many things needed to fall in line for the Commanders to have that season. And even the way how great the Commanders were with that season and Jaden Daniels, they weren't a game away from being in first place. So I don't know. I'm just trying to get more grounded expectations for JJ and this Vikings team. So I'm excited to find out. I'm still very high on the Vikings. I was high on the Vikings last season, and so I have a big amount of belief in them, and I'm excited to see. But yeah, the takes around the Vikings and JJ have weirdly become very and I don't know if divisive is the right word, but very contentious at times, and it's interesting to see, because for from my viewpoint, the Vikings for a long time have been pretty non-controversial, quite frankly, and the most controversial they got is, well, Sam Darnold turned into a pumpkin or not, or something, or are the Vikings like actual contenders throughout last season and whatnot. But it was like, I don't know, it just, things feel a little bit differently this time around, so I'm excited to see it all play out. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about JJ McCarthy and the Minnesota Vikings? What do you think is kind of realistic expectations for the Vikings, and what are you kind of predicting will happen with JJ in this season? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.